that out.
Okay. Well, good evening and welcome to the Selectmen's meeting of the 5th. The first item will be to review the minutes of the 7th of November.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes on November 7th, regular meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion on the minutes.
I don't have any.
All right, if we're ready to vote, all in favor of those?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And the 10th of November, the special meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept the November 10th special Board of Selectmen meeting minutes.
Okay, we have a motion. Second?
Second, sorry.
Okay, moved and seconded.
Sorry.
Discussion on those. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Very
Aye.
good, thank you. We'll turn now to public comment. All right. I think someone came on the phone as well, so anyone for public comment? You, Mr. Adante? Yeah, come on up. Come on up so we can have the...
We need to be able to hear you.
Yeah.
I'm here to inquire on the 4 extra sick days that were given to the Public Works Union Department. I understand that, I know that the Selectmen Board has had a lot of things come up between the time I brought this circumstances up. We're already into 1 year of retroactive. Nothing's been done for this year, and we're starting a new budget. So I understand we talked to him about there's a little difference with what the non-union people get if they bank something to the union people. Well, my philosophy is you take the good with the bad, and let's keep everybody even. And this board has the power to just vote on it, get the numbers, and present it to the Board of Finance. I'm just looking for some type of when it's going to come to light either way. It's time sticking, and we're into the new budget now, starting to get in for 23-24.
No, good at that for sure. Yeah, I think, as we pointed out, there are some variances between the police, the public works, and the town hall, and so I think we have to reconcile those as much as we can.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but from the time the Public Works Union was formed, and you were in office at the time, the non-union members went specifically by the town employees union, the public workers. Police department was separate. I believe they're in a different union.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure.
So, and this is why everything was always banked on what the union for public works got versus the non-union people, versus raises, if there's something else was given, usually it was done that to keep the morale up in the town hall for one, and to not have to worry about all of a sudden having to have another union.
Tim, do you think this is something that we can include with our study with Randy Frank that we're thinking of entering into, so that she could do a little sleuthing on the other towns and how they handle the union, non-union issues? And
Yeah, she's probably has some experience in that. As I say, before we just say go ahead, I think a couple of things we need to analyze. So, yeah, that would be a good suggestion. I know we need to get back to her anyway, so.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
It could be a while,
Oh, I understand that.
but we won't be.
Is this something we could have our new HR specialist look into and come up with
Yeah, that's true.
maybe a suggestion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ed Adante.
Adanti,
He's the head of our Public Works Department.
Superintendent Public Works.
Yeah. He's going home.
Anybody else for public comment? All right. We'll turn next to the Tatamaheg Landing. I had a conversation with Jack Collins, our attorney, and he indicated that as far as a resource from the Attorney General's office at no cost, that is not available. He was suggesting that if we want, he could explore perhaps in the way of an mediator type person as they have for union negotiations. It could be a retired attorney, a retired judge that would have proficiency in this matter. Or we could try to see if we can reconcile whatever differences there are before going to that extent. You know, we haven't committed to do that, but obviously getting an outside, some outside assistance could be helpful because it's been going on for quite a while. So he's going to check on some thoughts as to people in the legal profession that might be available, and if so, at what sort of a price tag that would be acceptable to the town and to the abutters there.
I have a question. Usually before you go into paid mediation, you try to sit down and work something out yourselves, and I feel like we haven't.
No, I agree.
I mean, I think that we should have a meeting. We can have an open meeting and invite Mr. Frampton to come and talk amongst ourselves with Jack here to see where we are. How far from the middle are we? It would seem to me that would be the less costly solution.
Yeah, and I think we've understood all along that vehicular access and the time of access are perhaps the two issues, and so I think before we spend a bunch of money, we ought to perhaps try to sit down. Now, of course, when you have a Board of Selectmen, it becomes a public meeting every step of the way, so I guess you'd have to see how that would work out. If you're trying to do some negotiating without it being in a public type of session, that might be constraints that we have to observe.
Do we know if that trailer was still there? Wasn't there a comment, someone said there was a trailer parked in the access area?
There was a picture of a trailer on the property that I was sent, and I sent it to Jack Collins, and he said that he was going to contact the Framptons that day and tell them to get it off there.
I went by there today, and there was a truck that was, a trades truck, and it looked as if they were installing some sort of a granite post somewhere inside the fence. So since they blocked the road, I didn't try to approach it, but something's going on. So be worthy of having a look in there and seeing what's what. I gave the selectmen a copy of some potential signage, and this could be either on an aluminum sign or a PVC type plastic sign. It would be lettering on the material, and the right-hand sign would be, well, the left-hand side would be just outside the gate as you're approaching. So it would say Tannenhagen Landing with hours, and we could debate the actual hours, but that's at least an attempt to put some hours down. Then the right-hand one would be, as you go into the pillar, through the pillars, it would show an arrow toward the driveway saying private drive, no entry. Then the other arrow would be to the right, directing people to the landing itself. And that same sign could be at the bottom where the Frampton driveway rejoins the landing itself. Just to let people know that the private property is at those two junctions.
What is first of all, I think these signs are too big.
I don't know. You're in a car. You don't want it to be too small.
A no parking sign is not this big. I mean...
Yeah, but you have a private drive, no entry, that,
I know, but it's a neighborhood. It's not, it's someone's house. This is huge, 18 by 24. It's bigger than a stop sign.
well, as you're coming toward the property, the front sign, you know, you got a lot of letters.
Yeah, well, remember what we had there? We had a very nice sign. It wasn't that big, and it was smaller, and it was on the
Well,
post.
2 feet's like this.
I understand what 2 feet is, but what I'm saying is, I think these are more for a public use space as far as, and I mean, I know that you want to say it's public use, but there is something to be said for keeping the looks of the neighborhood. And this is just not what I thought we would come up with. There was a very nice one there when Diana Atwood Johnson was there. I thought it would be something with a little bit more.
Well, I thought before we really went with the full sign detail, we'd get something up there and then work from there. This is something that we want to put up, and whether it's 24 or 20 or some other dimension, I guess we could debate that. But I think you have to realize that you're in a car, and if the sign is 20, 30 feet away, you want to make it readable. So I don't know, but you're in law enforcement. Well, how big a sign should be?
Well, I don't think there's a requirement. Obviously the stop signs are a requirement, but to be able to make it readable, that's all.
Right, and you have 9 town transit bus stops. The signs, those are not this big. I mean, you have no trespassing signs. They don't come out to be 18 by 12.
Well, I would think the entrance sign should be a little bigger than maybe the private drive. I don't know. I mean, I guess you got to kind of see it to...
Yeah, I need a visual. I mean, this is, first of all, what colors are you thinking?
Initially black and white. I mean, this may not be the permanent thing. This is just to get things in place. And well, this is...
Well, let's do
mull
some.
it.
Let's take some pictures of signs and see how much words are on them and what, and get an idea of what 18 by 24 looks like.
Yeah. Because it's when you're in a car, it all of a sudden becomes pretty small.
But you're not driving 50 miles an hour either.
Yeah.
You're going to be going very slow. I would think less than 10.
Well, we could look at the sign on the 36-1 button ball, and that's an
That's 12 by
example.
18, I think.
Yeah, so it's long and narrow.
Yes.
Okay.
I've designed a lot of signs and designed the Historical Society sign, and I'd be happy to help out if you want. You know, I can do a little rendering of what it looks like from the street, and we can get a sense of size and dimensions.
Yeah, this is what we're...
Can we give it to Edie? Give her a copy?
Want to take a look at that?
We appreciate that.
And this is sort of the initial attempt. If anything happened to it, we wouldn't want to have a nice wooden sign that disappeared,
Yeah.
which it did before.
And just so you know, when you do signs, even on the highway, you notice they're always green with white letters, because a dark background with light letters shows up better from a distance than black on a white background. So there's things like that I've experienced with. So.
Okay, good. We'll take
And then
you.
white is reflective with your headlights too as well.
Well, this would be...
I know that, but
Wouldn't be
just
in the
thinking.
dark. We want to avoid the dark. Okay. No communications nor appointments at this time. Turning to...
Well, we did have one communication after our transit hub. We had a communication from Katie at the DOT that she would like us to work together to complete the DOT survey They sent it out last year, but there's some questions that they need, and they'd like every town to do it. And last year, out of the 169 towns, I think she said 37 actually participated, and their goal this year is to have all 169 towns. And she lives right here in town. She said she'd come help if you weren't sure what it was that they were asking, but she said she'd have it, and she did send it to us in an email, and I'll forward it to you both again.
Okay.
What's her last name?
I can't remember at the moment, sorry.
But DOT.
She's from DOT. Look under DOT. Catherine. It could be under Catherine, but I think she goes to Katie.
Okay, she was at the dedication.
She was.
All right. Projects. The Halls Road improvement. We have Edie here to fill us in, please.
Hi, 8020. So we have two things going on with the Halls Road project. One is the RFP for the trails and bridge improvements were due on this Wednesday. We were a little slow in getting any comments from people and just recently got 2 new addendums added to the list. Because of that, we're going to push the due date to next week because I know of 3 firms that are applying for this, and I want to make sure they have enough time to understand the addendums, which should make things clearer for them, but I don't want to push our luck here. So
you're going to go from the 7th till
the 14th.
Later, a week?
Yeah. So that's one thing. And then just today we heard back from Attorney Willis, who's the zoning attorney, and he had pretty favorable comments about our HROD proposal. He thought it was quite permissible the way it was written. He thought there might be some ways of tightening up some of the language, especially around the qualifying project. So we're going to work on that tomorrow with our attorney, Sweeney. And if we can get it ready for Monday, which we're pushing pretty fast, we will. Otherwise, we'll push this on till January, and we'll make sure that Bill Sweeney talks with the Zoning Commission to make sure we know what we're doing here and have enough time to get this done. So unfortunately, I think because we didn't have a ZEO at the time of our submittal, it was never passed on to Attorney Willis. And because of that, that's why we're suddenly throwing everything up in the air and starting in another point. So, but we're carrying on and happy to have had a chance to hear back from Willis today. So that's all I've got.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the 12th is when we might expect the return of the proposals for the bridge design and approach and so forth?
Yes, the 14th.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
Oh, and we are also looking for people to help us review that RFP because we don't have any engineers in the Halls Road Committee. So if anybody knows of a good engineer or someone within the trade that could help us review the RFPs, we're definitely looking for that.
Okay.
I have contact. I'll give you a contact of someone who will lead you to the right person.
That'd be great.
Very good. The Soundview sidewalk, the bus shelter dedication was on the 14th. The cold and blustery day, but very, very nicely attended, so that was good. We're awaiting the delivery of the rock there, a large rock from a home construction site. That should be a pretty interesting one. And then there are a few punch list items that remain, but the retainage that we have would be more than adequate to take care of that, so we're in pretty good shape.
Tim, was there, I think I heard, I'm just asking for clarification, if there's an issue with the grass, right? If it doesn't come up, they're coming back to replant it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. They may have to overseed it, in the
Yeah.
spring just to get a jump on it. I've got nothing new for the Soundview sewer effort. I don't believe there's been any traction on money one way or the other. The senior center expansion, we had a meeting talking about where we are, and we're through the first phase of the drawings, but that's not particularly meaningful in the long run. They're moving to continue to design work. That should pretty much take most of 2022 here, and then come around the corner, they'll be a little more prepared to see what the costs will be and move into the past the design phase and maybe start soliciting some bids and so forth into next year. I don't really have a lot of clear timing on that, but design work's going well, and they've met with the Wetlands Commission on small patch of wetlands, and it seems to be fine. They provided for some additional parking in the plan if it were needed toward the Townwoods Road side of things. Ferry Road sidewalk, I'm trying to set up an appointment with a landowner to talk about the fence that could be a problem, so that we'd like to get resolved before we consider going out with the project in early 2023. I think most of the other work is in pretty good shape, so we'll just see how the cost, when we go out to bid, what the costs come to be. That'll be very, very critical. Swan Brook, I talked with a couple of vendors that can try to get the sand out of the pipes down there. Actually, the eastern pipe, they're two 36-inch pipes, and the eastern pipe runs, and we were down there, and actually both pipes were blocked, but a little digging why we were able to start the flow on the east pipe, and it came out like crazy. It just blew everything out of that pipe, and any sand that had collected within the crib was pushed out into the sound, so that was very gratifying. The western pipe is the one that's blocked, and as far as we can tell, the blockage is probably within 30 or 40 feet of the end of the pipe. It seemed like it would be a worse problem, but so in talking with a couple of vendors, we've talked with Connecticut Water so that we would have access to a water source at the end of pond, and that hydrant would supply the water for what they have to do. So the vendors would use basically a high-tech pressure washer to get the sand out of the pipe, and if there's any vegetation and so forth, that would need to be dealt with as well. Some think that there's sort of there's a larger rock in there, but just don't know at this point. So ideally, if we could clean out the west pipe, then we could have Macnic at the ready to rebuild the wood crib, the sides of it. If we don't do that at this point, we could have a machine be able to scoop the sand out that they wash out of the pipe. Hard to tell just what's going to come out, but if material comes out, it needs to be removed. So I think we'll have to have access to a machine to dig it out. So And then once that's all complete, then if Macnick can fairly immediately do the woodwork on there, we would be home free, hopefully.
So what's our timing looking like? What's our timeline on this? When do we hope to have it done? Or start?
I think we would be starting after the holiday here in reality. One vendor said that there are tides now are extra helpful because between the moon and everything else, the winter tides are more pronounced than the summer, so there's a long period to work on. So I suppose the evacuation of the sand, the material, that's probably a matter of a few days. Hopefully 2 or 3 days, it's hard to say what's in there and how long it takes, but that's the first thing. And then once that's out, then Macnick thought that building the wood part would maybe be 10 days. So it could be feasibly during the month of January, something like that. If the moons were in alignment, we might look for that to be the time to get the work done.
Okay.
Now, if I don't know that the cold temperature, if that might be an impediment. So if we had some very cold weather, we might have to hold up, but I think if it was, close to freezing and so forth, I think that would be, we can work fine with that. So that would be great. 36-1 button ball. There will be a meeting coming up, but I missed the last meeting, but I understand that on November 17th, the committee agreed to an additional recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, and that was to allow clearing a path leading to the water, which is the old road that the McGowans installed. And I think it's wide enough to accommodate a vehicle, so I think a 3-foot path wouldn't be a big deal, and I think it has been probably trimmed from time to time. So if that were 3 feet, the committee thinks that would enable the public to park and walk down there. There was other conversation about signage, and I think open space needs to round up probably a total of 6 signs, 3 at each side of the property, saying that you are approaching the border of the property and please don't proceed. And then I think at the bank of the, actually the bank of the, where the marsh is and Horseneck Creek and so forth, I think there'd probably be initially some signs asking people to stay off the marsh because that has not yet been evaluated.
And is that in the works with Harbor Management? Are they pursuing that?
At the meeting, they just said that Harbor Management was going to come up with a proposal for that area.
Okay.
Share it with open space so they could talk about it at their meeting, and that, between them, and then they come up with a recommendation from that committee
To us.
of what they wanted to propose.
Okay.
But it basically sounded like the Harbor Management was the one, the high tide line and below, or whatever, the high, medium,
Mean
whatever.
high water.
Mean high water line would take care of that, and they would facilitate conversation with open space to review it. I think they were going to try to get something for this meeting, but I guess it didn't pan out. But nothing like high tech, just a simple, like, this is what we want. Simple plan.
And we have a meeting with them on this next week.
17th?
Correct. So maybe they'll have something for that.
Not the 17th, because that's a Saturday.
Oh,
Think?
yeah, I've got it.
Did not.
Yeah, 20th.
It's the 20th.
20th.
It's the Tuesday the 20th.
Thank you.
The Tuesday the 20th, we'll
Yeah.
have an update.
So I think, I think that, it'd be very appropriate if Open Harbor Management would work on that part of it. I think that we all know that it's low tide. It's all mud and so forth. So you don't want to block the channel. You can't have a floating dock in the channel, which is probably not very wide anyway. So hopefully everybody's aware of the constraints, and then Harbor Management can come back and share with us their thoughts. Okay, the Gateway Committee, the survey.
Yeah, we're still, we have some homework. Each member of the committee was assigned, two members of the committee was assigned as partners to evaluate certain questions and come up with type of like a...
Executive summary.
Yeah, executive summary of what was it out of it, so we can present it, so at the next meeting, and go from there. And what was the total number of surveyors? How many people surveyed?
Was it 1,205?
Yeah,
1,205.
105 people took the survey. Definitely, interesting results, and hopefully we'll be able to share a little more information at the next meeting as far as what our next steps are going to be.
And we're going to invite Eric Knapp in to go over with us zoning and planning issues beforehand, because we'd like to get those questions taken care of ahead of time. So he'll either be at our January or February meeting.
Okay, good. Okay, the ARPA funding, the economic recovery grants have been dispersed 100%, and so I think the community initiative grants are being worked on now by the various recipients. I think I've got to check with Michelle in the office to see if there are any packages that haven't been claimed as yet, because...
Well, as of last week, we had an email from a person who was affected by this, but basically they applied under a different 501(c), and now they've become their own 501(c). So they wanted us to back up and rewrite another check, and I forwarded it to Jen because I wasn't sure if they had picked it up for the first 501(c). But I told them they have to do all their reporting. We're not switching the application out. They have to do the reporting through the original 501(c). They're still connected to that 501(c). It's not like they've disengaged from them. So it just says you have to follow through that way. And Jen sent back up 5 or 6 points to them and said, can't you just have the first 501(c) send you the money, and then you report every year to that 501(c), and they report to Nicole when she requests it.
Okay.
So that's what happens, in a difference a year makes people change their...
Yeah.
I'm following it.
Do you know whether or not there are any that need prodding to come in and pick up their stuff?
I looked briefly at the folder that Nicole, that Michelle Hayes has, but I didn't see any. Do you know if any, Nicole, do you know if any checks haven't been picked up besides that one?
Well, probably not checks, but the packages.
I mean, have we gotten a good response back?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think some of the municipal people have been sending things to the ambulance place and the fire place and all that, but in terms of the other ones, I'm not sure.
Well, I know, like Roger Tory and some of the other ones. I didn't know if those checks had been cut. Do you have any idea if any of those larger community initiative grants were cut yet?
No, I have not received any.
Okay. So I guess we'll do some follow-up tomorrow and find out what's going on.
Yeah, we can go through and get kind of a status report.
Yeah.
Okay. Turning to the hiring section, we have Sonia Greenhagen has started as of December 1st as the HR generalist, so that she's taken hold and working on a couple of things. I think she's out sick this week, unfortunately. But so that's good news. We're still working on the First Selectman Executive Assistant. And we have also hired the Senior Center Director Assistant, Caitlin Perkins. She began on the 28th of November. So that's good progress there. We're aware of some new positions that we'll be needing to fill. Actually, I can digress because there's an item down below here under GA, Registrar of Voters, but because Mary Lynn Clark resigned, we will be looking, well, actually, Jen Datum, who was the Deputy Democratic Registrar, and moved into the Registrar position, and then she indicated that she was not going to continue as a social services representative. And the tax assistant in the tax collector's office will be leaving at the end of the year, so that is yet another position that needs to be filled. So we'll work on those too. Turning to the Regional District School, the $57.5 million referendum passed. I believe that was about a 3-2 vote in favor, all told, throughout the district. So this Friday, when we meet with the leadership gang at the school, we'll get more information on that. But that was actually, the election was more complicated than anything else, trying to figure out how to do those two different votes. So that's passed, so we will be hearing more information from the administration and so forth about what's next. That is a not-to-exceed type of number, so I think Ian, the superintendent, Navisor, he has indicated that he does not believe it would be that full amount, but we shall see. As a follow-up to our conversation last meeting, Mary Ellen Basham and myself, we visited the transfer station for the purpose of situating a collection bin there, and also looked at Townwoods Park, and we'll be talking with Rebecca and whomever else about possibly having a bin there. Apparently the rules are that the bins need to be on municipal property. They can't be on commercial or other property. So we're good with the one at the transfer station, but if we could have one at Townwoods Park somewhere, that might be a bonus to stimulate more activity with that. We talked to the senior center, but with the construction and so forth, it just didn't seem to be a good spot. There was one area in the back looked promising, but they said, no, that's going to be used too much. So they didn't think we'd be able to situate one on the senior center.
So we're going to do it at Townwood?
Yeah, I guess I'll probably visit with Mr. Bugby and see what Park and Rec might think about a bin somewhere there, out of the way, not too far out of the way. Okay, turning to new business, we did receive a letter from Mary Lynn Clark, who, effective December 31st, would cease being our Democratic Registrar of Voters. And so she announced that Jen Dana would take over. So that she has done for a good many years, and so we thank her for her long service in that regard.
And I think, Tim, that there are some of us in Town Hall that would like to do a little celebration for Marilyn on the 15th.
Yeah, that was mentioned, right?
So if we can get your permission of a few things to use the senior center, and it is free, and it's just a little pop-in after work kind of thing.
Yeah.
That would be very nice.
Yeah, I was talking with Jen about that, so
All right, so we'll do
we'll
some party
flesh
planning.
that out. Right. So I'll verify that what the process is about replacing Mary Lynn, because the person would fill the term until the 4-year term. I believe it ends in January 25.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of who appoints or whatever, I guess we better verify if it's just, does the registrar appoint a successor, or does the Board of Selectmen get involved, or just what? So
No, I think it's the Democrats. Didn't they contact you?
Yeah,
DCC?
I just don't know the process. I just want to make sure.
Does
The town
someone need to be
committee,
appointed as a deputy now too?
What?
Do they have to appoint a deputy registrar too? Or is that gonna-
Possibly.
Okay.
I don't know how that one went, but I know that there was
yeah, well, I just kind of checked the specific rule to make sure.
Secretary of State's office. I'm pretty sure you can follow it through.
Yeah,
It has the,
makes sense. It would be the,
you know, if they're willing. If not, then you have to go out and I guess do a special election if you're a deputy.
Well,
to
I
do
think-
it, but
yeah, in terms of putting somebody in for the balance of the term, why, just what body does that, I guess. Sounds logical. Other new business, we had the Veterans Day observances in the various schools, and they were, as usual, very, very meaningful, and I think every school had a program, so that was pretty impressive. And we came back to Town Hall with a very intimate group for the flagpole ceremony. So that was good, and big hats off to the school for being open on Veterans Day, because many schools are not, so I think it's good. So we can open it up for other business. I do have a letter from the Jen Datum, the Social Services, and she writes that she wrote a letter back to the Old Saybrook Rotary Club, thanking them for the donation of $1,176 to the Old Lyme Social Services Department to support the holiday food distribution. She writes, as you know, the cost of food, fuel, electricity, and gas has been rising, and I've noticed an increase of folks that are asking for help with energy assistance for the first time. Helping Old Lyme residents with their food cost is critical, and I know how appreciative they will be. I'll work together with the Senior Center and Youth Service Bureau to ensure those in need will benefit from your generosity. She said, I'm so grateful that the Rotary Club is such a great community partner, and I'm very appreciative of your support. That's very, very nice of the Rotary to reach out across the river.
yeah, I did. Just a reminder to you both that we'll be writing something for the 100th anniversary of the fire department.
Yep.
And I'll work on a draft of that, and then you can edit and revise as you wish. Tim, I am wondering, we had, one of our community initiative grants is to update our meetings so that we can actually be online and, up to date 2023. And I'm wondering if we've started on that process,
I'm not aware of it. I could speak with Tom. I think he's aware of the funding and so forth. So I think that would be an important thing to get moving, because it's, even though we're giving the world free conference calls, it's not necessarily the best.
Right, and then my other concern is I think we've heard many times that during our open comment section at the beginning from our constituents that it would be very nice, especially in the winter, if all of our committees and commissions could be using the online so that they can take part and listen or watch if it's Zoom. If they don't have public comment in their agenda, that's okay, but they could still watch. And I think, hopefully it'll be something like Zoom where they can actually see what's going on. And the new Board of Ed meeting online is much better than the Zoom one was. Originally, they got a better camera. But I just think that it's going to take something from you to say to the chairs, like, this is transparency, it's public meetings, people need to be able to attend. We've come a long way.
I think logistically, you'd have to outfit probably this room, mezzanine, and the Legion with at least the spider phone type of thing, to have that facility, because right now there's phone jacks and so forth, but if we had something that worked well, would be number one. Each of those rooms could have the call-in number and everything.
Well, it's not even a call-in number. It can be, if it's online, it can be a laptop that's used from meeting to meeting. It's just they pull it up and pop open their meeting, and the camera on the laptop it's a small meeting, especially in those two rooms upstairs. They don't need a phone, they just need a laptop. And it's very accessible.
Yeah.
But I think that we have to push for this in 23. It has to be one of our New Year's resolutions to get people, and if they don't feel comfortable or not trained on it, we can come in and Tom or somebody can train the chair or someone on their board to work it so that it'll be available.
Well, hopefully the principal boards and commissions, when you drop down to committees and that sort of thing, it might not work so well, but for the usual principal committees and commissions and boards, we should be able to get them to agree, and if there was a facility.
I don't know if it's more of them agreeing, it's just telling them. Everyone needs access to your meetings. It's, instead of having to wait till it gets posted on the website.
Right. I think it's important. It's a third of our seniors are a third of our population, and they don't feel comfortable coming out at night. And
start at 4.
Or some of them still have health issues and don't care to be involved because of illnesses and things like that. The other thing I had is Hatchett's Hill has been repaved, and I believe there's supposed to be a stipulation that there's no truck using Hatchett's Hill as a cut through to Flat Rock and then down Mile Creek. Onto Flat Rock and then onto Mile Creek.
I don't know if that's a rule.
Well, if you'd like your pavement to stand up, it might be a good rule. Because
I know when they built the solar farm and that sort of thing, I guess we'd have to have a conversation with Ed about that, because...
Like a no-through truck sign or something? Or?
Yeah, there was... that was my understanding from the neighbors in that area, that it's not supposed to be a thoroughfare for a truck.
I have to confirm with that, because I know we had an issue like that in Killingworth years ago when I was the resident trooper there, and we had a sign that said no through trucks, but if I don't know if it was actually enforceable. Okay. It was just a sign, a recommendation.
And practically.
Right.
So can you check that out?
I will.
Thanks.
Yep.
Because I think the neighbors in that area would be nice to know. I think Hatchett's Hill.
It's actually Hatchett's Hill from the Public Works area up to Flat Rock, right?
Right. And then, yeah.
And that, that was an unimproved road, and then blacktop was thrown on it, and it gradually became passable, and it was not a designated road, and they tried to keep up with it, but it's a tough road because of the ledge and all that stuff. So now that it's been paved, why, I think it'd be hard to just, maybe big trailer trucks or something, but I don't know.
Large dump trucks, too.
It's gonna be an enforcement nightmare, if you say. And I know people have suffered with the truck traffic and making potholes and stuff, so.
Well, I think there was, according to people in the neighborhood, there is, when one of the businesses got their zoning approved, that was part of their plan, but they would not use Hatchet Hill as a thorough pass-through. So maybe we could have Eric check that and see if that's in place.
Maybe from a police standpoint, we can, if there's any difficulty, but.
Yeah.
And then I just want to remind some people of some fun things that are, well, first thing, we're going to be swearing in a new police person on the 15th. This is going to be, do they call him what do they call it, candidate? He's
Police Academy.
Police Academy student, and he'll be attending the Police Academy for the first 6 months. He'll graduate in the middle of June, and then he'll go to work for the town of Old Lyme. And the first person that's gone through the academy in 17 years for the town of Old Lyme.
Yep.
It's a big thing to celebrate. So the press would like to be here on the 15th to take a picture, be nice, or we'll send you one. And then also there on the 8th of December at the library from 4 to 6, there's a celebration for the Trek volunteers. All those that volunteer to collect the Trek plastic bags. And as you know, it's been going on in the schools for some time, and there's a host of volunteers that make sure that it gets to the Big Y every morning before 12:30. And then also reminders to all of our people in town that our commissions and committees appointments are coming up in January. If you're interested in serving on one of the boards, you should look for the application online and get it in to us before January 1st. There are a number of boards and commissions that have openings now, and there may be some people that are not coming back to their positions. So let them know.
Also, I'll mention on Saturday the 10th, the Lyme Academy tree lighting from 3 to 6. I think at 4 o'clock is the actual tree lighting. But they'll have things happening on the campus there for all ages, and it was very festive last year, so hopefully it'll be the same this year.
All right, I said a couple of things. Just wanted to thank everybody who attended the LYSB holiday parties yesterday in Lyme and Old Lyme. I had the privilege of speaking at a couple of them, because I'm on the LYSB board of directors, so great turnout. It was nice to see everyone together again. I know it's a very successful campaign for them, and it raises a lot of money for a great cause. So thank you for everyone that went to that. Also, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year to everybody. Stay healthy. A lot of stuff going around. This Saturday, the 10th, also is, Valley and Lime Old Lyme football is playing for the state championships at 5:30 at Central Connecticut University. So it's very exciting for the town. They haven't been there in a while. So I wish them luck on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else, Tim?
I do not have anything else.
Well, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, it's 6:22. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, very good.
I think it's freezing. Oh, it's great.